Call to the order. The Advisory Planning Commission for Monday, May 9th, 2022. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from April 25th.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Monica and second by Mr. King. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next order is special request and continuances. I believe we have a request to continue for the docket PC 2022-036 Kelsey Farms rezone. Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Eric Prime, Bay Bailey Law Firm, on behalf of the Kelsey family and the petitioner Duke Realty. We did advise staff last week that we were going to seek continuance of this evening's public hearing. Once the staff report was disseminated, we thought there was a good opportunity to have some further dialogue with staff to refine our concept plan before it was submitted to you for consideration and for the public hearing. I believe staff is supportive of that continuance, and it was done in a way so that it would be on the agenda, which has been available publicly for a few days. I only had one contact with the remonstrators, and I did advise them by email that we would be seeking a continuance. It's my understanding that that was disseminated, but I only had the one contact. So,
Okay, and to what date would you like that continued?
June 13th. Okay, thank you.
Need a motion?
Move to continue PC 2022-036 Kelsey Farms rezone until June 13th Plan Commission meeting.
Motion by Mr. Shell and second by Mr. Bates. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so anybody that's here, got a lot of people. Anybody that's here for that petition, the Kelsey's Farms rezone, will be heard on June 13th. This is your official notice on that. No other notices will be distributed or put out. Is that correct? So this is your notice for that that public hearing, June 13th, 7 p.m. So anybody that's here for that, and unless you want to stay and have fun, you can leave.
Thank you.
Also, anybody that's attending virtually, if you were here for that petition, you can drop off if you like, or you're welcome to stay. All right. All right, next order of business. Sorry, back. No old business, any old business from the floor? Seeing none. All right, under new business. PC 2021-107 Greenwood Sports Complex landscape waivers by the city of Greenwood. You have a presenter?
To get a hold of me now.
Come back to it. Presenter for that petition that currently isn't in attendance. We'll go past that. We'll come back to it. Next under new business is PC 2022-015 Block 2 of Greenwood Spring Lot 7 parking, Lot 7 parking easement vacation recommendation. You have a presenter for that?
Bricks, are you here for this?
Well, our engineer Greg Gribble is also on too.
Okay.
Okay.
So is he going to be presenting this one? Okay.
I just got some records for you.
No, this is a recommendation.
Greg was going to present, but if not, I can discuss it.
Great. Ripple, you ready to present? Are you? You're on mute. Ripple, looks like you're muted. Do we have him muted, Rob, or is Greg Ribble?
He is muted.
Up there.
There it goes.
There it is.
He's there.
Hello.
There you go.
Sorry for the confusion there.
No problem.
Yeah, so this request is for a parking variance.
Let me interrupt you real quick. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Greg Ripple with Terrasite Development. Address is 16102 Spring Mill Drive, and that's in Westfield, Indiana. That is 46074.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this request is for Greenwood Springs Apartments, and the request is to vacate a parking easement. This easement was in place with a previous agreement based on a previous development. So yeah, that's our request. I don't think I have anything else to add on that.
All right. That's the information that was distributed by staff. Is there any questions or comments? Pretty straightforward. So, all right, seeing none, there's been a motion prepared.
President, in regards to PC 2022-015, petition to vacate reference to parking easement, I move to find the vacation of the reference to the variable width parking easement in Lot 7, Block 2, and the subplot plat for Greenwood Springs Commercial Subdivision Block 2, defining Lot 7 located at 764 Greenwood Springs Drive in the city of Greenwood, as proposed would not, number one, hinder the growth or orderly development of the city of Greenwood or the neighborhood in which they are located or to which they are contiguous. Two, make access to the property by means of public way difficult or inconvenient. Three, hinder the public's access to a church, school, or other public building or place. Four, hinder the use of a public way by the neighborhood in which they are located, to which they are contiguous, nor adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the general public or delivery of services to the public. That the Planning Commission recommend that the reference to the parking easement be vacated as proposed with the following conditions. One, the commission approves the MHG Apartments Commercial Site Plan, Plan Commission docket number PC 2022-015 Greenwood Springs, and two, RJR Holdings LLC conveys deed and title for Greenwood Springs Commercial Subdivision Block 2, Lot 7 to SHN Holdings LLC, and to authorize the Planning Commission President to execute and deliver a memorandum regarding these findings and their recommendations to the Common Council and the Planning Commission's behalf.
Motion by Mr. Shell, second by Monica. All those in favor of that motion, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Okay. So, good luck.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Next, under new business, PC 2022-013, Asher conveying landscape workers. State your name and address for the record, please.
And my name is Chris Hinkle, work with Red Barn Engineering, 115 Roundup Trail, Fishers, Indiana, 46038. I'm here on behalf of Bill Asher, the owner of the property. The proposed project consists of a new 8,000 square foot building that's located on the west side of the existing residence and garages on the property. And the property itself is about 10 acres. Construction of the new building includes some asphalt pavement around the building for access, as well as a new asphalt drive connection to Griffith Road. We're seeking two separate landscape waivers for the site. The first waiver is for section 10-03-06 G regarding the foundation plantings. The two main reasons for this request is first off, the proposed building has multiple drive-in doors and man doors on the east side of the proposed building. Therefore, putting a 15-foot planting strip along that east side would just not be possible with access to the building. Secondly, the location of the building is behind the existing residence and multiple other existing buildings on the property. And therefore, the proposed building is really just not visible from Griffith Road. Therefore, having the 15-foot planting strip to help shield the proposed building. The second waiver request is for section 10-03-06, part J2, regarding perimeter lot landscaping. There's two main reasons for this request. First off, the parcel to the west is a warehouse, and the property to the north is agricultural. Really, the existing fence row trees and shrubs along these two property lines provide more site screening than what the actual landscaper code requires. I have a couple of pictures here, which we'll see if I can figure out how to get on with. Fortunately, now it's not gonna pop up. Technical assistance. I am, but I got nothing. Of course, we just did this 2 minutes ago. There we go. Now I can share. Got it. Just wanted to make sure that you can kind of get a visual of what's going on out there and the reason for our request here. So you can kind of see what's going on out there with the existing fence road there. This is a shot standing looking to the north, towards the agricultural field to the north. Let's see what happens if I try to kind of continue walking through. This is the existing fence row again to the north. Just kind of give you a feel for what it looks like out there. And then this is the existing fence row to the west. For our proposed construction, none of this is going to be disturbed. And obviously with the development to the west, it's already been completed. They've left it as well. And if anything were to ever happen to the north, same thing. Basically, this will all remain out there as it is today. I believe with that, that gives the reason for our two separate requests. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Do you
Yes.
also own the land where the natural barriers already are, or does that
Yes.
belong to someone else? Okay.
Yep.
So no one can come in and just cut those down.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there a section where, I read in the staff report, there's a section where there is no vegetation?
To the south of the proposed parking area,
Uh-huh.
we are not asking for any waivers from the variance or from the requirements for that area. We are proposing to go ahead and screen that as required.
May I speak to that?
Sure.
Staff's
Yes.
perspective? We're not opposed to the foundation planting waiver. Or are we are also not opposed to the waiver for the north and the west sides, which we've shown. What we're talking about is the south side of the drive. Our planting and buffering require that the drives and parking are landscaped on both sides. Right now, that south side of the drive has no landscaping, as well as some of the existing parking has no south side landscaping. The north and west, we really have no concerns with.
If I could speak to that as well, just real quick.
Sure.
The south of the existing parking area has been there forever, and has not been having landscape along there since the property was purchased 10 years ago. It's longer than that. Yeah, and that has never been a problem with any of the neighbors. And I would also say the new proposed drive connection, there are trees along the existing drive there, and those would help to kind of shield that proposed drive as well.
Are those on your property as well?
They are. And we are putting additionally to that, staff required the proposed landscape plantings along Griffith Road itself. So those are proposed as well.
Is the drive changing at all?
The existing drive will remain. There's a new proposed drive that's going to go into the north. And basically that new proposed drive is going to be 20 feet off of the fence row that we kind of showed there.
So what would your opposition?
The opposition was that the new drive to the north does not have any perimeter landscaping on the south side. I'm not discussing the existing drive. Staff did not have any comments about the trees there. And the landscaping along the existing parking as comes with a site plan. If you're expanding a business or operation by 20%, the site needs to come into compliance with our unified development ordinance. That was the reason for staff requesting the landscaping on the south side there.
With the landscaping that's already in place and the existing trees that are there, does the client get credit for those against the needs of the requirement of landscaping?
Yeah, we are supportive for the waiver for the north and west where there are existing landscaping. We are not making, we're not proposing that they would also have our food landscaping on top of the existing. It is just the areas where there is currently no landscaping that staff has brought up as unfavorable.
Looking at 3 different things, 3 different areas.
The site plan?
It sounded like
Of course not.
we're okay with 1 and 2, but then there was a third one that just, it's
No,
okay. I'll catch on.
I believe, if I paraphrase,
I'll catch
and
on.
sometimes if I paraphrase, because I don't speak fluent planning.
Yeah.
The first waiver request regarding the front yard landscaping along the foundation facing the street, you're fine with that because there's stuff out at the street. We can't really see that foundation anyway, correct?
Correct.
The second one has 4 sides. 2 of the sides have existing vegetation, and staff is willing to waive for the 2 sides that have existing vegetation, but their recommendation is to decline on the other 2 sides, so therefore not grant the
And
waiver.
those following the second one.
Yes. Did I say that correctly?
Just to clarify one point, it is the south side that we have.
Just the south.
Yeah, the other sides have the adequate existing or don't require it. It is just that south side that we're discussing.
I got a question too.
Go ahead.
So just so I'm clear here, there's a barn, a house, and then a yard, I assume, to that south drive, that far drive closest to the fence line. So on the south side of that drive, we're asking for trees or landscape to be planted there.
The existing drive has trees there. It is just on that existing parking area. And then the new drive on the south side. Yeah, the new drive is right next to the north property line.
Yeah, so the whole length of the drive, I'm just trying to understand, you're asking for landscaping that whole length of that drive.
Correct.
For the orders.
Correct.
Okay.
Bear with us for just a second. There is a long drive that goes to the east. Right?
Goes from the parking lot to the east.
Is that an existing drive or is that going to be a new drive?
I believe that's the new one, is that?
The new drive is proposed along the north property line. Yeah, there is an existing drive that we use today. That's closer to the south property line.
Oh, there it is. I got it. Oh, I got it. I got it. Right. Yeah. Right, no, that's what I was saying. So we've got existing vegetation to the north, not to the south.
And all those existing structures are in there already.
So, right. So what trees, vegetation do we have to the south? Nothing.
We have what's along the existing driveway today.
So there is landscaping along the present driveway.
That's correct.
But staff wants.
Which separates the view of the new drive from the south. He's got if he's got trees and landscaping along that existing drive, is that for the full length of the drive?
It is. And we are proposing to put trees along the right of way as well for Griffith Road as required, street trees.
Okay,
The new drive.
Yeah.
Right.
so I keep, you know, this is the existing. There's vegetation along here. Vegetation there.
This road here.
Right.
It's just not like.
And what staff is saying is they want landscaping from the south
Because
side of the
on-
new drive.
there's nothing around there. Yeah.
Okay. So everybody understands, there's a new drive to the north. You got vegetation to the north of that drive, putting new vegetation to the east where he comes into Griffith Road. The existing drive, and I'm going to say in the middle of the property, has vegetation along both sides of the drive or one side?
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's on both sides of the drive on the existing drive.
On the existing drive, yeah.
And so staff is good with everything, but not having any landscaping along the south edge of the new drive, which from the property line to the south is going to be somewhat hidden because you got vegetation along the existing drive. That's the way I understand it. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're asking.
No, I want to make sure that I've got the understanding of the property.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
and
correct.
then I'll ask you, is that your understanding as well?
That is mine with one addition. There's also existing parking that does not have any landscaping to the south of it. On their, on the staff report attachment, you will see that they have parking lot perimeter landscaping on the new proposed parking area, but the existing parking lot does not have any vegetation shown on the south side.
Where the old drive comes into?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Everybody understand that? Okay. Any questions?
I've got one. I mean, so if they put the more trees and landscaping on the south side of that drive, they have to maintain that to keep looking good, right?
Yes, if you need to be maintained.
So I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to think this through, and you guys do this way more than I do, but if there's already trees surrounding the whole property, it seems like we're creating somewhat of a burden for the property owner if they have to maintain additional landscape.
This landscaping is requested for all of our site plans that we do for commercial and industrial properties. It's a 5-foot perimeter, discretion of the users.
Would it be an issue to add landscaping on the south side of the parking lot?
I'd have to let Mr. Action.
I understand.
answer that. You want to come up here and say anything? I mean, I'd say it may not be an issue, but it's been in its existing state.
I understand, but
yeah.
I understand that there's changes being made to the property and we got to bring it up to the
Bring it to
current order
Yeah.
compliance.
I don't think
And-
that that would be too difficult to do, because it's not a extremely long section there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm willing, and we'll add that to the waiver, but I think I'm willing to forego the north drive and just do the parking lot. If your client's agreeable to that.
Sounds good.
Okay. So when we do that motion, we'll have to add that.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to follow standard resolution.
All right, so any other questions or comments? There's been, put the motion to that.
That would be,
That's the second.
Foundation, I seem to be okay.
Everybody good? No question? Okay.
Mr. President, regarding PC 2022-013 landscape waiver request, Asher conveying perimeter parking lot. I move that the Asher conveying for a waiver of the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance.
It's good.
I started on the wrong
You
one.
started
Okay.
with perimeter. Did you mean to do foundation
Let
first?
me erase everything that I just said. Back up. Mr. President, in regards to PC 2022-013 landscape waiver request, Asher conveying foundation plantings. I move that the request of Asher conveying for a waiver of the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance, Greenwood Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 25, Division 3, generally applicable regulation, Section 10-03-06, landscaping and buffering, G, foundation plantings, it specifies that industrial property shall have a minimum 15-foot wide landscape strip along the full length of a foundation facing the street to permit no front yard landscaping from the foundation because the building is located behind existing buildings and is not visible from the street, Griffin Road, be approved and that the Plan Commission find the Asher conveying has met the criteria set forth by Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 10-04-05I for the waiver for the reasons set forth in its request for waiver and as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shell and second by Monica. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising the right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Okay, so. Understanding this right. Second part is only asking for south side.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying now. So they're asking for a waiver to not do it on the south side. If they're asking for that, and they're agreeing to that. We have to deny it, right?
Partially approved or.
So they wanted,
Or is there a way for us to add a clarification to our request at this point in time, or is that?
Well, your request for the parking lot is,
All encompassing.
right,
So if we said we want to just request the waiver for the west side, the north side, and the south side of the proposed drive, and then continue with the required landscape buffering along the south side of both the proposed and the existing
parking lot.
parking lot.
Mhm. Right.
So if it's still the same, I'll still correct. You said that you do the south side of the.
Nothing changes. Bear with me here.
south side of the existing parking. No.
Staff.
Maybe make a motion, I would say that, for us to leave the landscaping on the south side of the parking, the new parking, but omit the need for the landscaping on the south side of the new drive.
Well, first of all, they haven't asked for a waiver.
On the,
On either the south side of the existing parking lot or the south side of the new drive. They didn't ask for a waiver of either one of those.
The staff is the one that's requesting that landscape be added. They're
Right.
saying they're recommending denial of this waiver because they have not provided the proper landscaping along the south side of the drive
right,
and the south side of the existing park.
On the plan that they've submitted.
but yeah, in the meeting though, right now, they're asking for it.
Yeah.
So what they've asked for, there's a motion been prepared,
Okay,
okay,
Based on what was filed.
based on what was filed.
yep,
Based on that, all we're asking them to do is add landscaping to the south side of the existing parking lot.
yes.
Well, I don't even know
That's
if
what I
that needs to
agree
be
with that.
said, because if this is all they've asked for waivers for, if you grant these waivers, or the rest of it, they would have to meet the ordinance.
Or we could work with staff on that. I mean, obviously legally, we need to make sure that it's correct, but we're happy to work with, I mean, we've
Because
agreed
anything
to it
that
right
they
here,
didn't
so.
officially get a waiver from, they would have to comply with the ordinance. You need to say, you've got to do this here and here, because if the ordinance requires it, it has to be done, if they haven't specifically requested a waiver for it. Yeah, so you don't need to make it more difficult. It has to be.
So this one, they have to file another waiver.
If they want an additional waiver, then they would have to ask for an additional waiver for that.
So did we approve this one? Or did it come back and do redo the waiver?
They're either going to have to revise the site plan that they were filed, showing that you've met the landscaping requirements for staff's concerns, or you'd have to ask for an additional waiver for those things, because they're not showing on your site plan. Because you've only asked for a waiver for the foundation plantings and the further parking lot landscaping.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's what we're told to ask
That's
for.
what you asked for, so that's what we were going to act upon, otherwise everything else you have to meet the requirements.
So we have to come back in with another waiver for
If
just the
you
south side.
want to
drive
stick
would
with
be-
apparently the plan you submitted,
covers
if I'm
everything.
following everybody correctly.
Is this specifically because they didn't request the south side, it's still part of the perimeter parking and drive landscaping? Is that the reason why it's?
Perhaps we're not understanding what you mean by south side. We're acting on what was specifically requested. And you're saying that you recommend against approving the perimeter parking lot because they still didn't show something that's along a portion of it that needs to be done.
Yes, a portion of the perimeter parking and drive that was not done.
So you, if you're going to approve it, you could say, do whatever motion to partially approve except for that portion along south side of it. You deny that and it needs to meet the requirements. That would be a way to handle it. Partially approve and partially deny. Right. If you have to distinguish which portion of it it is, I mean, you can partially approve it. So you do approve it as to this portion, but denied as to that portion of the perimeter whatever, I don't know how many linear feet or however you want to describe it. you know, To deal with that issue.
Can I ask another question?
Yes,
So if they went back and, you know, filled out a form or whatever and asked for that waiver, and you guys just by chance denied that, or passed it back to the commission, we'd just be here again, right, to listen to whether we want to do it or not. So why can't you just do that in the meeting? Why couldn't we just do that now? So that they don't have to go back and apply for that.
Can you do like an approval, like subject to? Something along those lines?
That's what I said, you'll do a partial approval and you're really denying a part of it, saying, okay, we approve this waiver,
Except. for this
subject
part.
to the portions, like I said, describing how many linear feet or whatever area this is on the south side. That's the issue, has to meet the ordinance. That was my suggestion, if you know what you're describing.
Good shot at it.
we want to get it right.
I realize that.
Yeah.
Not
We haven't asked for a waiver on the driveway or on this.
But the ordinance still applies.
But the ordinance still requires.
So we just say we waive the requirement to meet the ordinance on the south side of the drive, south side of the new drive, but not the south side of the parking lot.
They haven't specifically requested that, that's the problem.
I think this is probably the most simple way of doing it. Is you approve or deny what they've asked for. You've got a motion prepared for that. And then they'll have to come back and ask for a waiver for the south along the driveway, and the south along the parking. Well, the parking lot, the only thing they would have to file a waiver for would be the south side of the new drive. That would be a new way.
Which technically, I'm not even sure that that's, we're already buffering the south side of our property.
Right. I mean, there was a fine line there.
Yeah, that's concern, so what,
Right.
what is the concern?
All right, let me ask. If the existing drive has vegetation along, what's the purpose of, other than, that's what the ordinance calls for? What's the purpose of adding vegetation along the south side of the new drive? If it's being buffered by the existing drive?
I guess the existing drive is not directly adjacent to it, so for our ordinance, each drive should have 5-foot perimeter landscaping. The perimeter landscaping goes around drives and parking lots. Property has multiple drives. They have multiple areas to have perimeter landscaping.
I really appreciate the help, yeah, I mean, we obviously said what we're willing to do, and it's just a matter of legally.
Right.
Getting it correct.
It appears that the two drives are separated by approximately 125 feet. And I think that's what staff is objecting to, is the landscaping of a drive 125 feet south would not adequately.
Unless you're standing 126 feet south of there, it would not adequately buffer that drive.
Okay, so what the petitioner is asking for is the waiver he has to say. Okay, he has not asked for a waiver along the south drive. The north. Sorry, the north. South side. South side.
Can you explain the drive requirements? Is it separate from perimeter parking? So we know there are two separate parts of the code. So the commission understands this is separate.
They are both nested under perimeter parking lot landscaping. We do have E is drive aisles, must also have perimeter plantings. So for this request, they requested from perimeter parking lot landscaping, which includes E, to my knowledge. I don't, I believe they would both be covered in that.
Can anyone speak to if the existing trees along that drive meet our current landscape requirements for density? What are the landscape requirements for MDA?
Per 35 linear feet, there's a minimum of 1 tree and 3 shrubs that would be planted. They likely use trees, but I do not believe they have the shrubs provided. I would
We've
have to
already said that we would accept the guidelines.
Except what?
We would accept their existing vegetation.
Oh, that's on the perimeter.
Right, side, yes.
I mean, along
You're talking about the drive.
yes.
That's a valid point.
I think so. Yeah.
They specifically address 2A and B, they do not address 2E, which is drive aisles. So what they voted for is just A and B.
And if I may, I guess the way staff interpreted it was with the reference stopping at 2 perimeter parking lot landscaping, that they were looking for a waiver from the letters nested under number 2.
No, see, I interpret it because the only language they included, like the why. 1, 2, 3, which is just A and B. We didn't reference anything else, and my understanding they're only asking for a waiver from number 2 A and B, because that's the text of the NDA. And not the aisles, that's correct. This language is out 2 A and B.
What's the language provided to you by staff?
I believe it was. And I guess I should clarify that and say the language for the request, it was provided to us by staff, but at the same point in time, it was just restricted to the overall section, not specific
Sections.
1, 2, 3, 4,
So
5 within the overall section.
Because the text used just references actually 100306J to A and B. It does not include the text that's in C, D, or E. E does include the drive aisles.
Right.
And you intended to include drive aisles in your waiver request?
The drive aisles weren't brought up, or the existing parking was not brought up specifically. The south side or the south side of either of those as a part of our review process. But again, I mean, we're more than willing to.
What is the pleasure of the plan commission? What would you like to do?
Well, there's maybe differences on the commission, but I'm in favor of waiver I back that.
I have a concern with the north driveway, the long drive. As Mr. St. John pointed out, it may have trees, but it doesn't have bushes, so it doesn't comply either.
The existing south drive doesn't comply with our current perimeter landscape requirements for density.
No. But they're not doing anything to that. Right?
Correct, but we'd be using that to supplement. North drive. Yeah, it's a
So-
supplement discussions.
Well, based on that. No, because it's the language. Yes.
Oh,
Let me see if that works. We'll see.
okay. Okay. Modified motion. I'm going to read so that everybody understands the modification, okay? I would read, I move that the request of Asher Conveying for the waiver of requirements of Unified Development Ordinance, Greenwood Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 25, Division 3, generally applicable regulations, Section 10-0306, landscaping and buffering, J parking lot landscape 2, perimeter parking landscaping A and B and E, which is the drive aisles, that specifies a minimum 5-foot wide landscape area with continuous row of shrubs and a minimum of 1 tree, 3 shrubs per 35 feet of lineal planting at the perimeter of a parking lot and drive aisles for the northwest and east sides of the site parking lot, because the north and west sides of the site have existing vegetation, and the east side has existing buildings that will obscure the view of the perimeter parking lot landscaping be approved or denied. And that the plan commission find that Asher Conveying has met the criteria set forth by the Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 10-0405 I, for the waiver for the reasons set forth in its request for the waiver as presented, with the condition that the south side of the existing parking must comply with ordinance requirements.
question.
So I'm just thinking,
I have a question about it. Part of what you wrote, minimum of 1 tree and 3 shrubs. Sorry, let me back up. A minimum of 5-foot wide landscape area with continuous row of shrubs and a minimum of 1 tree and 3 shrubs per 35 feet. There's not a continuous row of shrubs. So are we just,
That's what they're asking for the waiver to.
but there isn't one on the existing driveway. It's just trees. Like right along here.
Understand that, they're not asking for any waivers.
But we're applying the fact that there's trees here for a waiver for trees and shrubs here.
We're just providing the waiver without meeting the ordinance requirement. Is what we're doing. Yeah, so we would not be giving up trees on the south side of the new lot because there's shrubs and trees on the existing.
Okay. I hate to do this to you. We've approved the first waiver.
No, we did.
you did the foundation.
Yeah, we did the
plan.
foundation.
That's my
Remember
first
the
waiver,
front
and that's
yard
part of it.
drive this year.
That business. I recommend that you go back to staff, rewrite this waiver and have to come back before us. I hate to ask you to do that, but we're not going to get a result here tonight. And I think that needs further review with the planning department. And I apologize for it, but I think that's. So how do we handle that business?
Well, you can do it. Sue Sponte, continue it to any meeting.
Okay,
How much time do you think you would need to do that?
our next meeting is.
Minutes.
Well, yeah, I would request that you give staff, get that worked out. We can move it to May 23rd or June 3rd. And I'll take a motion to that effect. Anyway,
I'll move. We have a continuance of PC 2022-013, the landscape waiver request for Ash Bay for the perimeter parking lot.
I was thinking, which meeting?
to which,
No.
To the
May 23rd.
May 23rd meeting at 7 p.m.
I'll second that again.
motion by Mr. Shell, and second by Monica. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. 2 opposed,
2.
I'm sorry, 7-4. We continue to the all.
Thank you all very much for the opportunity and discussion.
Okay.
See you in a couple weeks.
Yep. Next order of business is PC 2022-038 Sage Briar annexation. This is a public hearing. There'll be 15 minutes for the petitioner, 15 remonstrator, 5 minutes will follow for each. Anybody that's going to speak for or against this need to stand and be sworn in at this time.
Swear, perjury, testimony, that is true, to the best of your knowledge.
You got another man
There's another square.
Oh,
John McMahon.
Paul Robinson.
Just need to make sure whoever is going to speak, please stand and stay standing. They'll have to administer the oath to you for your testimony when you come up and speak.
Go ahead and do that again, Steve, please.
Do you swear no penalty for perjury? Testimony given is true to the best of your knowledge.
Anybody online will address it as the time comes. All right. Take your name and address for the record and
Good evening, Rex Rand, Colby Homes, offices 11590 North Meridian Street. We are the applicant or petitioner for this annexation petition. If you recall, we were before you in November of last year for part one or phase one of the annexation. That was for a portion of the Francis Sand property, and that was just a continuity restriction that we had on us to annex ground to the city of Greenwood. So this is phase two of the annexation process that we're before you here tonight. The ground that is in Johnson County currently is either rural residential or agricultural. And we're proposing to bring that into the city, also underneath the agricultural zone. So there's no development project up for your review or approval tonight, simply the annexation. And then one of the other things of note is you may recall during the last discussion that there was some state law to be changed to allow the annexation to take effect instead of there's a new rule where it could have been up to like a year and a half or almost 2 years the way the law was written, because the portion of the property to be annexed here tonight was within the Needham Fire Protection District. So that was successfully changed at the state level. So that law has changed, it's effective. So the first annexation that came before you is now approved and effective. So we're simply here for this 295 acres to bring that additional into the city. Happy to answer any questions of the commission or anybody else in the audience here tonight.
anybody else to speak for this petition?
Gabe Nelson, the planning.
Are you speaking for this?
Yes.
Okay.
With the plan.
Yeah.
Planning division, staff is favorable of this annexation petition. It's coming in as A, like their first phase of their annexation that came before you. They now had continuous land between the two of them where they're able to submit an application for this second phase.
Okay. All right. Anybody else to speak for? Anybody to speak against this annexation? Ask some questions. But
Come up to the podium.
why not? State your name and address for the record, please.
John McManus, 1020 North 5 Points Road, Greenwood, 46314. We received this mail and from Pulte Homes. I guess I'm curious what it means to me, because I'm right in this. If I look at this, this is my house and my barn right here. So I don't know what that's going to affect me, or I guess that's my questions. Go ahead.
Are you north? Can I get clarification?
North 5 Points Road.
You're north.
I'm North 5 Points Road.
Is this what he was pointing out?
Yeah, right. You see this right here, this area right here?
I can't really see from here. Is it north of that long lateral piece?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm curious how that's going to affect me and my property that I own. No, I just, like I said, we got this in the mail. So I thought I'd come here tonight and find out what really is going on. We were here in November for the first hearing. Then we got this. And
All right. We'll when we get to questions or when we get to answers, comments, we'll answer that. Okay. I said when we get to discussion, then we'll answer your question.
Okay.
So when we get everybody in.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Ronald Buckmark, live at 1378 North Matthews Road. I just got this in the mail too. I was just wondering what was going on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Dr. Paul Robinson from 904 North Matthews Road. I was here at the last hearing regarding the land in this area. I'm two farms. Well, my farm, the west part of my farm is adjacent to the person in question, and the other is one farm south. I'm the one that has a FAA approved grass airfield. I do charity flights, this kind of thing. And my main concern is that I have a rights to fly out of this airfield for which I have for 40 years. And just a flight path. That's my main concern there at this point. We addressed it last time, and I'd like to just know if there's been any thought or progress or comments or I guess edicts regarding this.
Okay.
Sir, have you taken the oath?
No, I haven't.
Okay. If you please turn around there to the.
These are perjury, this one gets street, that's not.
Thank you. My name is John Hakes. I'm here representing the Hakes Family Trust, which is if you look at that, the map that was sent out by Colby, you'll see what's referred to around here is the old long 40. They're right on the south part. There's 4 of them in a row. Dr. Robinson has the third one from the south. The Hakes Family Trust has when you come up from the south, it's the first one, the second one, and Dr. Robinson, and then the third one is the Hakes Family Trust. And what our biggest concern is that in the last 15 years, construction, mainly home and housing construction, to the north and west of this area has caused some really bad disruption to the drainage pattern in this area. It's cost us quite a bit of money on that northern long 40 section there. We're concerned because all this land that's in question here for the application of the annexation is eventually going to be housing. And all of this land is higher than this farmland, these 3 farms I'm talking about. And that includes Dr. Robinson's place also. All the land is immediately to the west is higher. Quick look at the topographical map will show you that. And we're very concerned about drainage problems. There are a problem in that part of the county anyway. So that's all it is. And we want to make sure that we stay abreast of what the plans are. What we can do to make sure that we maintain contact probably with the drainage board and the planning commission, make sure that if there's going to be housing there, streets, housetops, rooftops, grass, lawns, they do this, all this land right now is forested and that absorbs water. If it becomes a residential area, that sheds water and it'll come right down on that farmland. That's what our concern is. We're not here as yay or nay. We're just here, want to make sure that particular attention is paid to the drainage issues.
Okay.
It's never thought when I was growing up, never thought the green would be right at the end of the field. As I grew older, came back home from service, I found out that green was growing. That's just the way that goes. I just want to make sure that land does not turn into a swamp, because it very easily could. I think as long as we keep talking with Drainage Board, and Planning Commission, and stay on track, we'll be satisfied.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody else against? 5-minute rebuttal. You can address some of those.
My name is Daniel Bayshore. I live on 8950 Matthews Road up on the county line, and I'm also just here to listen and know of the properties were just Doc Robinson and the others were speaking of. And yeah, I'm just curious as well. You know, we're planning on doing some more planting and putting in more trees and things, and we just like to keep that in mind when I'm just here to listen and find out what's going on. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
So I'm gonna try to go through these in order. I apologize, I didn't get names for everyone. But Mr. McManus, I believe, is right here. He's on the west side of 5 Points Road. Correct. Okay. So your property would not be included in the annexation at this point. How it would be affecting you is simply that the ground that's currently in Johnson County, that's either zone ag or RR, rural residential, would be brought into the city as agricultural zone. No change for you at this point.
So I guess my question, I have a question.
Sure.
Is, are you gonna run utilities next to my building, or are we gonna run, I mean, what, right next to my property is.
Right now, we're just discussing the annexation. When and if the plans come before us for development, then there'll be site plans and all kinds of zoning and the things they have to meet for drainage, for detention ponds, where the utility lines are going to run, all that. So that right now, he can't answer that question because we don't know what that development's going to be.
So we don't have a timeline of
No.
when this is going to happen.
Right now, this is just the annexation to bring this property into the city as agricultural at this point. And then there'll be other hearings for, whatever zoning they apply for, because they'll have to rezone from ag. And then there'll be primary plats that will also be public hearings. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to get into the nuts and bolts.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
And for the record, my name is Rex Randage. I don't know if my name's on the letter you received or not. But if not, catch me on my way out. I'll give anybody a card.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. The second gentleman asked, kind of just said, I gotta notice what's going on. So again, I think we've established this is just an annexation, it's coming in a bag, no plans or anything at this point. Dr. Robinson, yes, he was here the first time around. I believe his attorney and our counsel had some conversations, but we're happy to circle up on that as well as things move forward. And then Mr. Hakes, so kind of as you had mentioned, sir, the if and when any property is proposed for development, there's a robust set of standards for both the planning and engineering departments. So typically, when land is developed, the restrictions and requirements imposed on it actually helps drainage in the area. So I would say that for Mr. Hayes, because I know he's got 3 out of these 4 parcels to the southeast there. So other than that, happy to answer any other questions that the commission.
Anybody else? Or again? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. All right, I open up to questions or comments to the commission.
Yeah, I'll throw something out there. My biggest concern is the airstrip for Dr. Robinson. I'm not quite sure how the FAA regards that airstrip. I know they're extremely strict on the Greenwood Airport. So that's something that we might need to look into as they develop. This is an existing airstrip for 40 years, as Dr. Robinson points out. So we wouldn't want to make something hazardous, either to the pilot, passengers, or the people on the ground.
Where's your property in relation to this annexation?
It's
Okay, it's 2 farms south, right with your finger.
Okay,
Yeah, and I usually take off the land to the pole, to the west. And again, I might say this is a over 2 airplane charity. It's never in 40 years has any neighbor ever complained about it at all.
Okay.
Much as possible. And but I would just like a flight path. I'm not against anything else you're doing. I just like a flight path.
okay. Keep that consistent, please.
Yes. It'll help everything move along.
Yeah.
Understood.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, would you like to?
I will, as this is a recommendation to the legislative body, the common council for the annexation, which includes the zoning to ag from rural residential and county ag. You must pay reasonable regard to the following criteria. 1, the comprehensive plan. 2, current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. 4, the conservation of property values throughout Greenwood and responsible development and growth.
Have we heard that? Is the motion prepared for us?
President, regarding PC 2022-038 amended the annexation of 294.9 acres, various parcel owners' parcels. I move that the amended petition for annexation of approximately 294.9 acres located adjacent to and both east and west of 5 Points Road between 950 North and 1700 North block of 5 Points Road, which is contiguous to the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, as set forth therein, receive a favorable recommendation from the commission of the Greenwood Common Council, that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shell, second by Monica. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Happy to get.
Good luck.
I do have a question about it. It doesn't affect this motion or anything. And that is, does this create an enclave of Johnson County inside the city? From looking at the map, it looks like it does. Sorry, down there. No, down here. So but this part, this side of the city, this part.
I don't know.
And the reason I asked the question is 5 or 6 years ago, Mr. Walker can attest to sitting went through and tried to take all the small enclaves and incorporate them into the city, annex all those spaces, and I'm just wondering if we've created another.
I think there is pieces that would be on place. I don't know that the plans we have with future to annex those, but I do believe we would be creating.
Okay.
All right, any new business on the floor? Any none? Under announcements.
Oh, what's work?
Well, I used to do something about this.
Well, we continue.
Oh, no, we never.
Yeah.
Did he?
No.
No.
Mr. Steinmetz, are we looking?
I'm assuming he's presenting it, but we don't know.
I reached out to, we have reached out to the Parks Department, the Parks Department had reached us on the BZA item coming before, as well as the landscape waiver. And I've been in communication with Kevin. I wasn't able to get a hold of Kevin this evening. He did talk to me about presenting. They are on the PCA agenda for the 13th, June 13th.
Oh, the BZA for 2 weeks.
if we would like to keep it on the same one, otherwise it'd be fine with the very next agenda on the 23rd. To move it along, I'd say 23rd probably.
All right, so we need a motion to continue PCO 2021-107 to.
Second.
5:23.
Mr. Bates.
Motion by Mr. Page, second by Mr. Walker. All those in favor of that motion, signify by raising your right hand. All those like sign. Motion carries. All right. So, thank you for that. All right, so we have one other order of business. Announcements. Well, we do, but Gabriel's gonna hand out a document that you need to review. And the next meeting, we'll make a motion to adopt. And not to be shared with anybody. Okay? Right.
You don't get it.
But the next meeting, you're prepared to want to take action on this. We heard this case several weeks ago. Okay. Any other announcements? Any comments?
Like to introduce you to Brick Butler, new planner. We're excited to have him here, and you'll be seeing him on the 23rd for some of those waivers that got continued. So
that's why you want to.
Rick will study up and we'll have those ready for you on the 23rd. The new senior planner will also be attending that meeting.
Rick, don't worry, all of our meetings run just as smooth for you.
No, this one. They usually don't last. Are we done?
Motion to.
Second.